this presentation started from a conversation with Mirna, but I understood that she was removed from her position of leadership, and I started looking into this whole topic of counterculture, and I did this presentation about counterculture. And the first thing to ask is, what exactly is counterculture? And I found this definition. It basically says the shared attribute and values within a particular segment of society leads to such public rejection of particular people or groups. In a cancel culture, we appoint ourselves the arbitrators of rights and wrong. And here are the main arbitrators. MailChimp, YouTube, and Facebook. They are the arbitrators of truth. Aren't you so happy and thrilled to know that we have these fine organizations that are now the source of truth in our country? Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you for MailChimp for making sure that we know what is right and wrong. I have to admit that I've actually been on the wrong side of that particular equation. There's a lady I know of that her name is Diana Smith. Anyone know Diana Smith? Diana Smith has this crazy idea that maybe we should allow people to make their own decisions regarding vaccinations, that government should not be able to tell you that you have to get a vaccination. They should not be telling pregnant women they need to get vaccinated. By the way, women aren't even allowed to be in trials for vaccines if they're pregnant. I recorded a video about her in this very meeting, and guess what? YouTube said, I'm sorry, but this video has been removed in violation of YouTube community guidelines. So I guess maybe being concerned about people's rights to get vaccinated or not vaccinated definitely violates their standards. That is how I've been canceled. Is one example of how I have been canceled, as is myself. Another one is this lady, canceled December 12, 2020, Trump D.C. What Chinese Americans think about Trump. Canceled out. Gee, I wonder what she said that was so terrible.
I wonder about the future of America. I really worry about that. And this is my country already, and my next generation. I really care about the future of this country. But now it's going to be in danger. Justice, the fair election is really dangerous. Think next year. I really worry about it. Chinese Communist Party leader, the federal workers, is trying to control this country, control all other countries.
So does that sound like a really dangerous video? Dangerous person from China. She's basically an individual that suffered from communism and said, we don't want it in our country. We're seeing the stuff that was happening in China is happening here, and we don't want it. Apparently that didn't match the community standards of YouTube, and they canceled me out. What else have they done? Erasing history, Louisville, Confederate Memorial in Arlington. Has anyone been to Gettysburg? And what do we have at Gettysburg? We have monuments that were put up by people of the Confederacy and people of the Union because we had happily people dying in this country of a bloody war. And they wanted to remember their Confederate dead. And I've been to all those monuments. I've read all their inscriptions. And I've learned something about the past. This particular memorial was put up by the Confederate, the Daughters of the Confederacy, to remember this war, the losses they had. And believe it or not, under slavery, a lot of slaves were very loyal to their masters. They were very strong tied to them. A lot of the slaves actually raised the children of the white people in the big house. They'd be willing to lay their lives down for their masters. And after emancipation, everyone clapped, was excited, but what's next? A lot of those slaves signed agreements with their masters to stay on. I'm not trying to say that slavery was a good thing. It was abuse, not allowing people to read at all. I was recently reading a book by Booker T. Washington called Out of Slavery. He said the same thing. He talked about the real truth about the relationship between a lot of white people and a lot of slaves. And honestly, there were a lot of Christians living in the South. This was the system of the South. It was a system that people bought into. And not all relationships were as cruel as you understand. And this memorial discusses that thing. But apparently, cancel culture says we can't tell that story. It doesn't fit our narrative, apparently. We have to focus on how terrible slavery is to create division. Canceled. Another item, cancel. MailChimp deletes my account. They didn't just take down my particular email thing I was from. They removed me completely. What did I dare say? I was doing this analysis of the adolescent trials, failure to report serious adverse effects. There's this girl named Maddie. Anyone know who Maddie DeGray is? She's actually out of Cincinnati, and she was part of the Pfizer trial. Very underpowered trial, about 1,800 participants. Half of them were in the placebo group, half of them were in the vaccine group. She got a very bad reaction to it. Her life's been changed. It's been ruined. They kind of shunned her during the trials, what I've read about it. We have this group that has a 0% chance of dying of COVID. Did I say 0% chance of dying of COVID? Maybe in the whole state, 40 people under the age of 18 have died of COVID. Why did they ever approve this dangerous vaccine for students? Why did my school board approve vaccinations when this happened? Of course, I was totally canceled out. I was deleted for saying this. This is what cancel culture is. It's something that came out of Russia under communism to cancel people out. And who are the perpetrators of this? Facebook, MailChimp, and YouTube. Now, who else has been canceled? There's this group called the Proud Boys, and I've met Proud Boys at different events. They seem to love their country. They stand with the same values that many of us Americans stand with. They were at the protest, for the vaccines. They actually were involved. In fact, a lot of times, a lot of them are concealed carry. They would actually provide security and protect those there. And basically, this is what some of the media says about them. Proud Boys is an exclusively male, North American, far-right, neo-fascist militant organization that promotes and engages in political violence. The group leaders have been convicted of violently opposing the United States government, including the constitutionally prescribed transfer of presidential power. Let's talk about that. Under our Constitution, we have the right of freedom of speech. But there's also this thing, the 14th Amendment says that there's an issue about sedition. That if you're causing sedition to overthrow the government. Now apparently, the whole thing about January 6th is there were a lot of people that came out to Washington, millions of people came out to peacefully protest. And somehow some of those individuals ended up in the Capitol. A lot of discussion about security there, a lot of discussion about how doors got opened. They're all accused of sedition. The founder of the Proud Boys was there expressing his constitutional rights to his concern about the current administration. And honestly, some of the things the Proud Boys say, I would say. I still respect their right to say it. I know that at certain events they had certain things on their flags I would never have on my flag. But I knew they agreed with us. His constitutional right to free speech was suspended, the founder of this organization, because he wasn't in favor of the current administration and the way they're conducting themselves. They convicted him of sedition. He wasn't even in the Capitol. I read the recording about it. But you can't find anything about the Proud Boys on the internet anywhere. All you find is stuff like this. Their website's been taken down. I think I have a slide for that. But actually, through Mirna, I actually found out, I got a slide about what they actually say. What do they actually say about themselves? Well, it's kind of hard to read there, but they believe in minimum government. Okay, a lot of people believe in minimum government. They believe in maximum freedom for people. That's reasonable. Anti-political correctness. I agree. People should have the right to voice their own opinion. Closed borders. We definitely would agree that being totally open is not a good idea. Anti-racial guilt. Why should we be guilty? That seems to be a lot of things. We want to be guilty about things that happened hundreds of years ago. Anti-racism. I guess that's different from anti-racist. We're against racism in general. Pro-free speech, pro-gun rights, glorify the entrepreneur, and venerate, which means revere the housewife. Seems like a reasonable organization to me. But do you even find this anywhere? What about the millions of Proud Boys that just love their country and perhaps they're a little bit of a redneck? Anything wrong with being a redneck? I have friends that are rednecks. You know, they're great people.
Who are you talking about?
I prefer Appalachian American.
Anyways, here's this picture taken. Doesn't it seem reasonable that moms that want liberty would be friends with guys that want freedom? And this symbol here, you know, it's been around a long time. It means different things. Okay gesture. Some people say of 3%ers, it was 3% of the people that caused the American Revolution to actually be successful. You know, this is not a bad symbol. And I imagine if people are part of a group, they might do this to each other to let each other know that we're part of that 3%. We're part of that group making a difference. But how do they react to it? By the way, Mirna or Eads actually spoke. I think these might be out of order, so I might. But then this article came out and said Hamilton County's Moms for Liberty chair Tonya Dodds sitting next to Proud Boys Bobby Bean while wearing his Proud Boys hat. Tony posted this photo of herself from the first chapter meeting on the Moms for Liberty Facebook. It must have been a pretty good event. After all, Moms for Liberty, guys that are proud to be boys and care about their country, having lunch together. I don't see anything wrong here. These seem to be an ongoing trend of Proud Boys members posing with Moms for Liberty chapter chairs and official photographs while wearing Proud Boys attires. What's the problem here? And there's all the evidence about it. And of course, Moms for Liberty responded to this article with a statement. It should be noted that in the photo. And they also say, as the posting, the chapter chairs are still listed as such on the Moms for Liberty website. Do you see what's happening? Not only they took the Proud Boys down on charges of sedition, which really aren't really valid. Granted, I might not agree with everything they believe, but they've totally canceled them out totally, and now they're going after the chairs. Because maybe they didn't get the message that these people are part of sedition. Maybe they seem like normal Americans just trying to do a great thing. And I've been kind of perusing different Proud Boy Telegram sites, and I found some that have definitely been compromised by people that aren't Proud Boys. Because they're saying a lot of things a Proud Boy would never say. But I found some that haven't been compromised, maybe they're moderated, where it sounds like a bunch of guys just expressing their concern about their country. And I think Mirna actually spoke at the Capitol that day. In fact, I can play a little bit of this.
I think it's a pretty good speech, if you ask me.
Cancel navigation, skip verification. You know.
All right. My name is Mirna Eads, and I am the Campbell County chapter chair of Moms for Liberty in Northern Kentucky. How many of you have heard of Moms for Liberty? All right, a lot. And how many of you knew that we were an extremist terrorist group set up by the Southern Poverty Law Center? Well, I assure you we are not. We are moms, dads, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, grandparents.
So basically, there's this great speech. You notice that at the bottom of it, they actually make the person that posted this said, "Mom Boys" or "Moms for Liberty" and the Proud Boys. It's a distraction. They're trying to distract you from the real truth, the fact that there's an organization, Facebook, that isn't really interested in liberty. They're not interested in being proud. Interested in taking people down. In the midst of this, how did Moms for Liberty organization decide to respond to this? Oh, by the way, they asked Mirna about this symbol here, and she told them that's the 3% symbol. I think it's a good symbol. Because it's going to be probably 3% of us that stand up to issues that are going on in our country.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Because they've already compromised the
They've already
symbol.
labeled it, so you can't.
They've labeled it. So they basically take our symbols away by simply just changing the label.
Do the good old two deuces.
Now this is the response that the leadership Moms for Liberty sent out. I don't really judge them for this because they have to make decisions based on their own, but this is what they decided to do. Moms for Liberty in no way is affiliated with the Proud Boys and does not condone involvement with this organization. We repudiate hate and violence. In a way, they're kind of throwing them under the bus, connecting them to it, but the statement's still reasonable. We have been made aware of 2 chapter leaders who have recently demonstrated a lack of judgment and misaligned with our core values. I could see the lack of judgment if you know that this is going to happen by the media. Due to this, those leaders have been removed from their positions. Did they do that to simply cover themselves, or did they want to stand up for what is right? Maybe I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know that when I studied Shotokan karate, and we were in the dojo, and the sensei said, we're going to have the brown belts and black belts go against the dojo. About maybe 30 people in the class. There are 3 of us that are brown belts. Guess who won? As soon as I heard that, I said, okay, so I'm going to immediately attack as soon as I hear this. We all did that. We had a field day. It was like a big turkey shoot because they would not unite together. They would not stand against us. It was easy to take all of them out because we're faster. And one-on-one sparring, take them out because we know how to block anything they do. We know how to get them. But you know, if the odds are really about 10 on 1 at once, you lose. But they were more interested in not working together. I imagine those at Facebook and MailChimp and YouTube are very proud of the Moms for Liberty for taking this stand. You know, we will not allow this action of a few to define the rest of our 130,000 members who, as a joyful warrior standing for truth, build relationships, and empower others. I've known Mirna for some time. She came up here and spoke to us about Moms for Liberty. I was so inspired by what she had to say. I wrote an article about what she had done. I used the tools she provided. I provide all those tools available to anyone in Miamisburg to find out if there's pornography in our libraries. And she also came up during my campaign to speak with me. I don't know of anyone, a few people, maybe a handful of people that are as good of friends as she is to me, of a commitment to stand up what is right. And her own organization says, allow the actions of a few to define the rest of our 130,000 members. I think it would be awesome if Mirna did define who these other members were, a person willing to sacrifice their own expense to stand up for what is right, to build relationships and empower others. Moms for Liberty, in a way, reminds me of all those guys in the dojo that were not willing to stand up together against 3 brown belts. And as a result, they all were taken out. What should we be doing, in my opinion? Of course, just my opinion. I think we should stand up with those individuals standing up for the right things. And don't be afraid. That's my perspective. That's what counterculture is. And I think at this time I'd like to invite Mirna to come up and talk about her experience with things.
All right.
Thank you. So to piggyback on what Scott said, I was the chapter chair of Moms for Liberty in Campbell County, Kentucky, and the lady that was in the picture was the Boone County chapter chair in Kentucky, and both she and I were removed. The rally was a Protect the Children rally that went nationwide on November 4th. Every state capital, people were supposed to show up and just stand up for children, whether it was sex trafficking, pornography, the pushing the gender identity issues, you know, whatever the case might be. That's what the rally was about, and that's what I spoke about. After the rally, there was multiple groups there, and we decided to take pictures and the Proud Boys was there, but we all just took group pictures, and of course I told Karen, you know, we're not going to post this on our Facebook page because of what we know that Moms for Liberty does not align with the Proud Boys. However, all I saw at the rally was a bunch of Papa Bears who were standing up to protect children. We all agreed on what we were there for the rally. Fast forward, it was a setup. The guys that were there were probably feds, and they knew that Moms for Liberty was going to be there. They knew that I was going to be a speaker at the rally. And it was actually one of their Telegram posts that posted the picture and titled it "Moms for Liberty Poses with Proud Boys." And that got sent around to media. A couple weeks, I guess 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from a newspaper reporter asking me, "Why'd you take a pose with the Proud Boys?" And I'm like, "Are you talking about the November 4th Protect the Children rally?" I said, "There was a lot of groups there. We all took group pictures together. Why are you focusing on Moms for Liberty?" "Well, Proud Boys, you know, they're anti-government, they're militia, they're terrorist extremists." I don't see them as that. The guys that were at the Capitol didn't seem like that. They were just a bunch of Papa Bears wanting to protect children. So I gave my little talk to the media, and I linked my video for her to watch, and she did. About 7-8 minutes later, I get another phone call from this guy who said he was with the same organization as the local reporter. And so I thought this was just a colleague following up on the video, because he said, "I just watched your video off YouTube about your speech at the Capitol, and I'm interested in asking you a few questions." So I answered his questions, and I told him exactly the same thing that I told the other reporter. Moms for Liberty gives us freedom to talk to local reporters, but anything outside of local, if it's national, we need to consult with them, okay? After I talked to the local reporter, I immediately contacted national, the leaders at national, and I said, "Hey, just so you know, this is getting out, and reporters are starting to call." And so I waited 6.5 hours before leadership finally called me back. And they pretty much told me, number one, "Do you know who the Proud Boys are?" And I said, "What I know of them is not what the internet says about them. I'm not going to buy into that. I don't believe that they are anti-government. I don't believe that they're extremists or terrorists. I don't believe they were involved in January 6th. And the guys that was at the Capitol were a bunch of Papa Bears who were there to protect the children." And they said, "We don't align with Proud Boys." And I said, "Well, I was there in Moms for Liberty aspect. I took a picture with the Proud Boys. Karen was the one that gave the OK symbol, or the 3% symbol, or whatever you want to call it. The left has dubbed this the white power signal, which even in sign language, this is not white power." Reviewing all of it, apparently this is white power. And clearly Karen wasn't doing that. She was just giving the OK symbol. Should she have done it? No. But who's to say what we can or cannot do, what we can say, what we can't say? In the pictures, I just always give a thumbs up, plain and simple. If I'm going to throw any hand gestures, I just do a thumbs up, if anything. Bad judgment on Karen's part, but either way.
Could have still found something.
Right.
Yeah.
And the problem is that Moms for Liberty, I feel, they bowed to the left, because when they said, "Do you know who the Proud Boys are? You might want to look it up on the internet." And I said, and if you look up and see what the internet says about Proud Boys, Go look up what they say about Moms for Liberty.
Exactly.
It says the same
Same
thing,
thing,
that
yeah.
we are anti-government, that we are terrorists and extremists and a bunch of, they call us the Karen clan hood and assholes with casseroles and, I mean, they call us all kinds of things, okay? But that doesn't mean that just because the internet says that's who Moms for Liberty is, that's what we are. We know who we are as an organization, just as the Proud Boys know who they are as an organization. And so I feel that when Moms for Liberty decided to remove Karen and I from our chapters, which they told us it was going to be just a temporary suspension and that they would get back to us. 4 hours later, they posted what Scott posted on Twitter. And to me, that was a huge slap in the face, and they have not communicated with Karen or I since. The last thing we heard from them is that it was going to be a temporary, then they put out that statement on Twitter. Next thing you know, we had hundreds of people from Kentucky, state representatives, state senators, a lot of people involved in the smaller organizations, grassroots organizations who wrote emails and letters to the leadership of Moms for Liberty demanding our reinstatement, which has fallen on deaf ears. And I did not realize, I knew that the work I was doing was important and making waves. And, obviously when you're flying over the target, people start coming at you. That's when you know, oh, okay, I got their number. So I kept doing it. And after I was removed, all the people that came forward and basically told Moms for Liberty, what Mirna has done in Northern Kentucky, in the state of Kentucky. Now, I will say this, I was a small piece of all of that that's happened in Kentucky. All the grassroots organizations that I worked with, I was just a small fraction. But these people saw that I was a huge piece of that puzzle to get Senate Bill 150 passed and Senate Bill 4 and some of these others that we passed in Kentucky with regards to gender ideology and the pornographic books in schools and so on and so forth, and bringing that to the forefront so that people knew what was going on. But needless to say, since Moms for Liberty decided to banish us, that closed Campbell County's chapter, it closed Boone County's chapter. We only had 4 chapters in Kentucky. We just started a Warren County chapter, and that chapter chair has decided, because of what Moms for Liberty did to Karen and I, her members have said, we don't want to be a part of Moms for Liberty if they're not going to reinstate them. So that chapter is now closed. So all that's left in Kentucky is Jefferson County, which has been hanging by a thread for over a year because that leader in the chapter chair position is wanting to step down, but no one wants to take over. So basically, Moms for Liberty will never have another chapter in Kentucky again.
Where are they
because
out of?
what happened?
Where are they based out of?
They're based out of Florida. They started in January of 2021. They've had 300 chapters opened up across the country in 48 states in 2 years. So if that was a stock, you would want to buy in. But now there's not going to be any chapters in Kentucky because of that. And Karen and I were in the works of having 6 more counties start chapters at that rally. And of course all that went away with their decision. Now, I haven't stopped my fight. I'm doing the same thing that I've always been doing under Moms for Liberty, except it's just not under the Moms for Liberty title, which actually I can do a lot more because with Moms for Liberty known as such a hate group, now all of a sudden I'm not affiliated with Moms for Liberty anymore. So I'm getting more doors opening. In fact, January 9th and 10th, I'm going to Washington, D.C., and I'll be speaking with Kentucky representatives and senators, as well as Jim Jordan. He is on the Judiciary Committee for Weaponization Against Cancel Culture. And I signed an affidavit against Moms for Liberty, basically not suing them or anything like that. But because they listen to cancel culture and what the left has to say about the Proud Boys, they chose to close my chapter and remove me from my position, which is exactly what we're trying to fight in this country. And the fact that Moms for Liberty, Scott showed a picture of Tonya Dodds. She's from Tennessee. She posed with Proud Boys and was at January 6th. There were several Moms for Liberty chapters at January 6th. Bridget Ziegler, which some of you may know, that name has popped up in the news here recently. She is one of the co-founders of Moms for Liberty. And she was involved in a sex tape scandal and all that with an adult, not a child, but irregardless.
Talking about the recent one in
The
the White
left is
House?
throwing, I'm sorry?
Talking about the recent one in the White House?
Yes.
I thought it was 2 men.
No, well, Bridget Ziegler,
No,
so
I thought it
her,
was 2 men that was involved in the
Two separate things.
yeah, you're talking about
Yeah.
a slightly different one. Her husband is the GOP
You know, at the end.
president down in Florida. And then she had a campaign that she took pictures with the Proud Boys as well. But see, all that was okay with Moms for Liberty. But recently, because of now all of a sudden Moms for Liberty is backing the actions of what Bridget Ziegler and her husband did. Now they're adults, and this other adult was consenting that made, I don't know why you want to make a sex tape anyways. They made a sex tape, and it somehow got leaked to the press, and they made a big deal of it. But Moms for Liberty is backing what she did, but 5 more chapters have closed because of Moms for Liberty doing this back and forth. You know, we're going to stand with this, we're going to go against this, and they're just deciding what they want to do. So,
Kind of like my first slide, right?
yeah. So I like to say that kind of Karen and I kind of got the ball rolling because with what happened to us, of course, they brought up Tonya Dodd, they brought up Bridget Ziegler, all taking pictures with the Proud Boys. And I think some news media went ahead and said, oh, well, let's look further into Bridget Ziegler and come across this sex tape. So, well, when the story first broke, her husband had stated that he was going to step down from the Florida GOP position until the issue resolved. And I think Governor Ron DeSantis also asked that he step down till the issue gets resolved. But he did make a statement that when the truth comes out, everyone's going to see that the media just kind of exploited it, you know, because, you know, they like to push Moms for Liberty as anti-LGBTQ, which we have, well, not we anymore because I'm not with them, but they have members who are LGB in their group. They have, oh yeah, we have gays and lesbians and I don't know if there's any transgenders, but you know, they're in the group too.
You can't have a picture with a crowd.
I got a question for you,
Mhm.
if I can interrupt you.
Yeah.
Have you thought about maybe going out and starting your own thing?
Yeah,
like
but-
create like ladies for children's rights or whatever name you want to come up with.
Yeah, but there's so many grassroots organizations we have in Kentucky that we don't need another grassroots. I'll just help the others do and just do the same thing I'm doing.
Yeah, because it sounds like you've got some potential that
Oh yeah.
you've got a desire and a purpose behind your calling, and God gives us a calling, and I feel that may be something God called you to do as a child advocate. So that's just something I want to bring to your attention. Maybe you can start your own organization. I mean,
Now Karen and I are just combining our efforts in with some of the other grassroots organizations that we've been working with for the last year and a half, that are doing the same thing we're doing, just under a different